Hi folks, Toad here with Visordown.com, and we are in the stunning Ribble Valley at Inch Perfect Trials, and this is the reason that we've come here. This is the very special Electric Motion EPure. So this is an all-electric trials bike. This is the new 2020 version of the E-Motion electric trials bikes. It's kind of not the very top of the range. There is a more pro version which has got a bit more power and a bit more trick suspension, but this is kind of the one that you're going to want to go out and buy if you're looking for electric trials power. So what makes this bike so special? For a long time electric trials bikes have been around, but they've kind of just been the twist and go sort of type of throttle arrangement on them. The special thing about this is it's got a proper full-on hydraulic clutch. So it's not an electronic clutch, it doesn't do anything to the motor. It is a proper hydraulic clutch, which makes the feeling of riding it a lot more natural. If you've ridden petrol trials before and you look at electric trials and you think, I don't know if I get on with it, and you're at a certain level, the clutch will probably come in handy for you on this one. One of the headline stats of this bike, and I had to ask again if they were actually telling us the truth when they told us it, but this has got 600 Newton meters of torque. If you don't know what Newton meters are, I'm going to put it in perspective for you. The Triumph Rocket 3, which to date was the torquiest motorcycle that I'd ever ridden, is a 2.5 litre 3-cylinder engine that puts out 165 bhp and 221 Newton meters of torque. And this thing's got 600 Newton meters of torque. It's just an unbelievable figure. You almost can't fathom the amount of torque that these things have got. It is absolutely mind-blowing. That said, it's not totally difficult to ride. You've got 3 riding modes effectively. So you've got a low, a medium and a high power, and each of those modes can be configured in different ways. So you can plug the thing into a laptop and you can go in and alter the power preferences and the delivery and so on. So completely customizable, and you can tailor the bike to your needs effectively. The rest of the bike is pretty standard for any sort of propulsion method. It's got the same sort of suspension and braking system that you'd find on a petrol powered trials bike, and it's got a similar sort of frame. It weighs in about 74 kilograms, I think, so it's not heavy at all, and basically the biggest limitation of this bike is the fleshy thing sat in the middle of it holding the handlebars, because as I've seen today, when these things are ridden by pros, they can actually get up anything that a petrol powered bike can and more. So what's it been like riding it today? Well, first things first, Inch Perfect Trials. I was here a year ago. We were riding the petrol powered Honda Montesa Kota 300 RRs, and the place has been transformed in just a year. There's a whole new trials park that's opened here, which if you're big into your trials, you're going to really want to come down to it, because it's a really phenomenal training facility, and a lot of fun even for somebody of my ability just to go sort of pootling around it. They've also put a lot of work into all of the trails and the tracks, and they've relayed them, and you know, it's just a much improved experience, and the staff are probably the best that I've ever met in terms of an off-road riding school. To ride this thing, I don't think there's a place for a petrol powered trials bike in my world. After riding this thing all day today, I've been absolutely blown away by it. I did come a cropper earlier, I'm going to be completely honest. I stacked it, and it was ambition outweighing talent. So yeah, being completely honest, I did come a cropper earlier on, but it was totally my own fault. It wasn't the bike. But other than that, the electric delivery, I mean, electric power makes so much sense in a trials scenario. You don't have to go big distances. You're not really worried about recharging times or anything like that. And the other thing about these bikes, and what makes that electric power so good, is that when you've got a conventional petrol engine, be it 4-stroke or 2-stroke, the power's being delivered to the back wheel in tiny pulses, or bigger pulses if you're on a 4-stroke, more torquey pulses if you're on a 4-stroke. And each of those pulses is an opportunity for the rear wheel to lose traction or break traction and start to spin. And on this, you don't get any of that, because the power's so linear and the torque is so linear. It just picks up and just drives forwards, and it's surprising what you can climb with almost no throttle on these things. It feels like it pulls like a train up some seriously steep inclines, as you're probably looking at from the video footage that I filmed earlier of our tutor Aaron showing us how it's actually done. The only real thing that I missed about petrol powered trials bikes, and this is only a really very minor thing, was I did miss the engine braking a little bit, where you're dropping down steep slopes, and on a petrol powered trials bike you can just drop it into first gear. This doesn't have any gears despite having a clutch, but you can just drop a petrol bike into first gear and close the throttle, and you'll just chug down the slope and you won't go any quicker than 4 or 5 miles an hour. You don't get that on this, so you have to be a little bit more careful with the brakes and sort of use the back brake a little bit more. But other than that, these things are just incredible on a trials course like we've been riding today. There's no contest for me. There are pro riders out there who still ride petrol powered trials bikes and who don't enjoy the electric powered trials bikes, but that's just because they are at such a high level. The petrol powered bikes have still got a slight foothold over the electric bikes, but I don't think it's going to be long before these things are catching up and overtaking the petrol powered competitors. Price wise, these are about the same price as a conventional petrol powered bike, and there are many other benefits to riding the electric bikes as well. I mean, there's virtually no servicing. The batteries got a 2-year or 4,000 hour warranty or something like that going on there, which means, you know, you're covered if there are any electrical gremlins. But to be honest with you, from what we're hearing from the people that work here and their feedback from owners, is that these things are absolutely bulletproof. If you've always thought that electric trials bikes like Ossets were toys, this completely changes the game. This is a full-on tool, and if you wanted any more confirmation that these things are the future, Matthew Alp, the MD of Inch Perfect Trials, was actually planning on doing the Scottish 6 days trial on one of these. He'd got allowances from the organisers to change the batteries at fuel stops and so on, and the only reason he didn't do it was because of COVID-19. And I, for one, am gutted about that, because I'd have loved to have seen how this thing could have handled the Scottish 6 days in the hands of a proper full-on world-class trials rider. It would be seriously entertaining. If you like the look of all the footage that we've shot today, please get to the Inch Perfect website. They do starter courses for children right the way up to advanced courses for those who've done clubman trials and beyond. It really is a mecca for trials riders, and it's a place that I've been to twice, and I'm sure I'm going to be back here again very, very soon, because trials riding, I think, actually might be about the most addictive form of motorcycle sport that I've ever had the pleasure of taking part in. Thanks very much to Inch Perfect Trials for having us along, and also Electric Motion for giving us the bikes and letting us have a play on them. And you can read a full review of this bike on Visordown.com. Thanks for watching, folks.